Welcome to the wood turning workshop. What if I were to tell you a few guys wanted to turn a bowl? What if I were to tell you it's out of this? These guys are insane. It's going to take a few months to do, but we're going to follow the whole process from start to finish, so stay tuned.
The Wood Turning Workshop is made possible in part by
Woodcraft since 1928, providing traditional and modern woodworking tools and supplies to generations of craftsmen. Woodcraft, helping you make wood work.
Easy Wood Tools, offering a full line of wood turning tools with replaceable carbide cutters.
I've got one of the wood turners who's insane enough to want to turn this into a bowl. Now, Guy, why do you want to do this?
Well, I had a very large lathe, and I haven't had an opportunity to use the capacity of the lathe.
How big is this lathe? I mean, what can it do?
I've got a 7-foot diameter faceplate with this lathe, so it's pretty big. It will certainly handle it. Our problem is going to be how to get the material into the lathe. You know, we have to use a fork truck to put it in the lathe right now.
Wow. And so how much of this is going to be bowl?
We're going to try to make it about 3.5 to 4 foot long.
So, I mean, you're going to be dead center. The pith is going to be in the center of the bowl.
In the center.
It's going to be this big around.
Yeah.
And it's going to go from about here to here.
Yes, yes.
That is like hollowing too. That's not just a bowl.
Yeah, we're not going to do like a salad bowl. We're going to make a smaller opening, and so that we have a design in it.
Okay. And how long do you expect that to take? You don't know.
I don't know. We're probably going to run into some problems since we've never done anything like this before, and it'll take several days to turn it.
So, but you're also just not going to turn it. You're going to carve this, right?
Yes, yes. Ron Fleming has decided he wanted to carve, and he wants us to leave it about 1.5 inches thick. Well, he's going to turn it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And he'll leave it about 1.5 inches thick, and then he wants to carve all the way through that 1.5 inches with layers of leaves.
Holy cow!
So I don't know how long that's going to take him.
So yeah, this is going to be a months and months to do this.
It probably will. Actually, Ron had mentioned that maybe we ought to just turn this round the clock. So we're concerned a little bit about it drying out and cracking, and we'll just have to kind of play that by ear and see what it takes.
Oh, Guy, it looks like you guys have been busy. I see Ron Fleming hiding back there.
Yeah, Tim, he's over there. He's working out the design he wants to so we can sculpt this, he can carve it.
And you've put in only 2 days of turning, but it's been 2 weeks since we saw you.
2 days of turning, pretty good days, but we were pretty successful once we got set up.
Really?
To turn. We just had a few problems getting set up.
Yeah, I understand the faceplate back here gave you a little bit of trouble.
Well, yes. If you notice that faceplate back there, that's we've got 82, I think it is, screws in that faceplate. Everything we can find.
That's huge.
And but the big faceplate bolts to a 12-inch faceplate.
Okay.
And we originally had a problem there, and it cracked.
With a couple thousand pounds on there, you see why.
So we got a heavier duty souped up faceplate, put it on there, bolted it back on, and also had to make a stand for our tailstock. We were kind of trying to, just play like it wasn't heavy.
Oh, this thing is really, really heavy duty.
Well, yes, it's a heavy duty faceplate. We're having a kind of a saddle.
I mean, tailstock.
Tailstock, yes. We have a kind of a saddle type steady rest being made too to support the heavy weight when we take this away.
Holy
Because
cow.
it sags, that much weight causes a spindle and everything to sag, so we want to have it supported.
Now, Ron, can you hand me that real quick? You got the tool there. Now, I was surprised when Ron told me that you guys turned the outside with a standard bowl gouge, but now there's a whole different dynamic when you start turning the inside because there's so much mass, so much weight, that you got to have some rig like this, right?
Oh yeah, you can't freehand something 3 foot deep. It's just too far out there.
Man.
So we're supporting it, and then we were fortunate enough when I went to the AAW symposium, which is American Woodturners, we found a cutter that was really doing fantastic, and I got it, and it did. Well, this enabled us to do this in 1 day with this cutter, and we spent about a half a day fiddling with it before we ever put that on.
Yeah, I tell you, that's great. Well, can we see this thing turning?
Sure,
Awesome.
sure. Let me get it back here, and we'll start.
Well, Guy, I see you've got Ron turning over there, but amazingly enough, you're getting ready to turn on the inside. Two guys at once, right?
Well, we've got a lot of distance to work with on this mold.
When you got something this big, you
And we got a lot of horsepower, so there's no reason to sit here and watch.
Okay.
Two of us working on it, we might as well do it.
Well, how does this tool cut? Let's see it in action here.
All right, let me see if we can get started here.
It takes a nice shaving.
Yes, it does.
Now, with something this big, you just have to be careful and take your time, right?
That's right. This tool really cuts. Occasionally it gets loaded up on the tip.
Yeah.
And usually you push in and it does free itself up.
Wow. But if you ever get into trouble, the wood's going to win, right? Since it has so much mass.
Well, something will happen to this bar probably, but it's so heavy, and we're not taking it. The load's not very heavy on the tool.
Right.
The way we've got it set up.
Okay, and we forgot to mention this is a 7-foot swing lathe, right? It's a pattern making lathe. Wow, that's impressive. So how much more turning do you think you got on this?
We've probably got I don't think we can finish turning the inside today.
Yeah.
But we'll probably finish. We got a day and a half of turning probably left on it.
Well, it has been a few months since we saw the big bowl being turned, and a lot has happened since then. And we're now at the house of Ron Fleming, and what a house. It's really pretty cool. The big bowl's inside, but you can't visit Ron's house without taking a tour because this once was a Tulsa incinerator. He and his late wife, Patty, renovated this whole thing. I mean, that was the smokestack up there. That's awesome. So let's go inside, meet Ron, take a little tour. Then we're gonna see the big bowl. Ron?
Come in, Tim.
Hey! Hey, you look like Scarlett O'Hara coming down that grand staircase.
Well, I don't look like Scarlett, but somewhere in there.
Well, I'm so glad we're here to catch up on the big bowl, but as I was just telling everybody out there, we have to look at your house because there's not another one like this. This is incredible.
Just full of wood.
Just full of wood. It was full of ash at one time, wasn't it?
Was full of ash.
Yeah, and I mean 10 feet deep. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys.
it was to the ceiling, 14 foot.
Really? And that was the basement or even in here?
Basement.
Basement. And then what was this area like?
This was just a big open room where the trucks drove through.
Wow. I mean, it's magnificent. And is this the original brick?
Yeah. All the bricks original.
And you did your own ductwork up there? That's your ceiling,
Yeah,
right?
that's my ceiling.
And Ron, it looks like an arboretum in here. I mean, you have plants all over the place. You have trees. I mean, how do you keep all this stuff going?
Well, it goes on its own. All I have to do is water it once a week, then keep it cut back.
Yeah, well, you have to come in with hedge clippers and stuff?
Yep. I got pole clippers that I can trim it with.
That's so cool. And your work is everywhere. I mean, this is like being in a gallery. This is really impressive.
Yeah, it's my own little private museum.
Yeah, and you have your carvings that you started off with, like down here. This is some of your
That's an early piece.
early stuff and really famous stuff. I mean, do you have a larger version of this in which collection?
The White House.
The White House. That's not bad company, huh?
Yeah.
Man, that's beautiful. And you always have this, you were one of the first people to start finishing the work all the way onto the bottom of the piece, right?
Well, I don't know whether I was first, but I did it.
Yeah, well, and you really were one of the first guys, one of the first few to really, I mean, turning was young when you started turning.
Right, and there were only 2 or 3 people that were doing any carving on it.
Yeah.
And
Well, and you started off with stuff like this over here, right?
Yeah, just making the vessel form.
Right.
Trying to learn form and shape and.
Yeah. And then it evolved into even more interesting things like this where you started carving. And a lot of people don't realize that you are a professional artist. You do airbrush work and computer work,
Right.
things like that. So you were also mixing mediums.
Right. That's kind of a mixed deal. All the feathers are wood burned, so they have the texture in the feathers, and then it's painted with acrylics.
Man, you don't ever sit still on your laurels, do you?
No.
This corner is even a better example of all the different mediums and ways you're doing things too, right?
Right. It represents the airbrush work, pink ivory, lead crystal.
Yeah. And then this, there's got to be a good story
That I just had to prove I could carve something beside brown.
Doing round all your life, you wanted to. That is great. And what size is that?
So I don't know what size it is. My daughter's. She kept missing her shoe and couldn't figure out what happened to her shoe, and one day it showed up.
That's great. And you were talking crystal. This is made from a wood one that you turned and carved, right?
Right.
And that's got to be a long process.
Takes about a month to make one of those.
Really? And so you have a foundry that works with you for that?
Right.
Okay.
Hugh McKay up in Oregon.
Yeah.
And he makes a mold on the wooden piece and then makes a wax, and then it's put in a kiln. It's just a long process.
That's fantastic. But you're making something that keeps on giving because you turn it one time, carve
Right.
it one time, then you can replicate it.
Right. And I've got it done in crystal and bronze, different shades of crystal.
Wow. And I imagine the bronze is pretty heavy when you get done with it.
Right. It's about 135 pounds, and this crystal's 85, so
I think both those weigh more than you.
probably. Yeah.
Well, you have over here, now, this is phenomenal. You started doing dragons a bit, right?
Oh, it's just something I've been playing around with.
Yeah.
The only thing it's turned on this is this,
The very top.
the very top.
And the hollowing of it.
And the hollowing of
Yeah.
it. The rest of it's all carved.
And how do you get the carving? I mean, this is hollow down
I
inside.
had to develop a way to do that.
You're not going to tell me.
I'm not going to tell you that.
Oh, well, this is all wonderful, but there's even a more interesting part of your house that you're hiding from us. Can we go take a look back there?
Sure.
Okay. So, Ron, are we both going to go up here?
No, I think you better go up there by yourself. There's not room for everybody.
Thank you. It's a long walk. Holy cow. What, 4 stories up?
From the base floor, it's 4.5 stories.
Wow, Ron. Whoa. What a view. This is incredible. Man.
Here, I brought you a light.
Thank you for the extra light, Ron. This is cool to have your own treehouse. Hey, you got cobweb on there.
God, where'd all the flies come from?
Yeah, they all come up, it looks like. But this is pretty cool. I bet you always wanted to have something like this as a kid, didn't you?
Yeah, always had a treehouse somewhere, and this is it.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, back down the stairs. Now I have a little bit of light.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta be short to get down this place. Oh! Well, Ron, that was very illuminating. Hey, Stan.
Hey, Tim.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being here.
This is, yeah, okay, whatever. This is one of your henchmen that helped you with the big bowl, right?
Henchman, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we
Well-
had some scheduling problems, so we missed out on some of this stuff. So you guys had a long haul, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah.
We had a very long haul, and there were some moments of anticipation,
Right.
shall we call it?
Mishaps.
More accidents than
Really? Well, and you know, we showed some of the turning in the shop, but actually it was a chore just getting the piece of wood into the shop and on the lathe, right?
We had to rent a special forklift
Yeah.
that everything moved, and it was short enough to go through the garage door,
Whoa.
and then it would move sideways and in and out, and finally got it positioned so that we could screw it on the shaft of the lathe.
Yeah, because you got to get the whole thing angled just right in parallel or right.
2,500 pounds. It was a little hard to maneuver.
Well, once you got it there, how did you? Oh, you turned the lathe to screw it on. Oh.
Yes.
One of those things you think I know that sort of thing. You guys have a lot of photos too of the beginning process. Let's take a look at some of them. Oh, let's see here. Well, now the first photo we've got is you actually wrapped this in plastic quite a bit, didn't you?
We had to keep it from drying out. It was green wood,
Right.
and we put the plastic on there after we got it turned, so the cracks wouldn't appear.
Man.
To dry it slowly.
So Ron, this was like a race against time from the very beginning, right?
Right, pretty much so. That's kind of what fouled us up with the trying to put it on camera, because we had to just keep moving. We couldn't stop.
Right. I remember I got a call like in the morning or something, and so how's it going? Well, we worked all night and we got to this point. Okay, take a lot of photographs. Yeah. Well, and it really was quite I mean, you don't get an idea of size of this thing until you guys are standing next to it in the shots, and even throwing Ron inside of it a couple times.
Well, an interesting thing that happened is when we started with this and first put it on the lathe, it was 12 inches longer than it is now.
Really?
We had to cut 12 inches off to have room for the tailstock on the base of the lathe.
Oh, man.
So,
but you're still working with a 2,000-pound piece of wood at that point, right?
Yeah.
Well, once you started the turning, did you find out that tools worked like you are used to them working, or did things change?
What do you think?
I felt like they were pretty much normal, because we just had to scale everything to the piece of wood. But as far as the outside goes, I just used a regular bowl gouge, and it's just like I was turning any bowl. Just took longer.
Big enough that we used both turning on the outside and the inside at the same time.
Yeah, we saw a guy doing that earlier with Ron. That was kind of cool. So no major catches, no big explosions, nothing like that. I mean, how fast do you think you ever got the thing going?
Well, it was turning like 280 at the spindle and probably about 1,200 at the surface.
Right, so the feet per second on the outside was really hauling.
Pretty high.
Yeah, but it wasn't scary or anything. It was just like turning any bowl. But I've turned a lot of pretty good sized bowls.
Yeah, you turned some big stuff. Well, and it helped that a guy has a pattern maker lathe which can do a 7-foot swing. Is that your next project?
Well, not quite 7 foot, maybe 6.5.
Yeah. Well, once you got the bowl turned, it was one heck of a faceplate you had left on the back end of that thing, right?
It's about 30 inches, I think.
I think it was, had 82 bolts in it.
Holy cow, long bolts? I mean,
3.5 inches.
3.5 inches. So you had to leave some of the base there while you were turning that.
6 inches.
Yeah, we had 4 big carriage bolts that were about 8 or 10 inches long, so we had to leave that much on the tail of it.
So you took the faceplate off it, guys, and then you brought it over here to work with?
That's right, and screwed it onto the Weld Positioner that let us tilt it and rotate it.
What's that?
It's a positioning device that welders use to weld flanges on pipe.
Oh, okay. So you're using a big piece of equipment to help you move stuff.
Right.
Okay, so when you brought it here, one, you were fighting cracking because it was drying out, and so the next step was to actually draw out the design on it. Now, were you just working with this on the floor, or did you mount it on something?
No, it was mounted on our positioner, but...
Oh, the positioner was here. Okay,
yeah.
now I'm there.
And
yeah.
I was trying to decide what I wanted to put on it. And my crazy mind works different ways, and I couldn't go to bed that night. I went in there and got in bed, and I was laying there thinking about what I was going to put on this thing. And it finally said, it was about 1:30 in the morning, I said, I'm going to get up and just go down there and do it. And I went down there, and in 15 minutes I had it laid out.
Yeah, we really wanted to see Ron laying this whole thing out, but I am appreciative that you didn't call me at 1 in the morning and saying, get down here. It'd be a little hard to wake Brian up, I think, at that hour.
I got it laid out and put the wrapping back on it, went back to bed and went to sleep.
So it didn't take you that long to do the design,
No.
but then the real work started with the carving, right?
Well, there was a lot of sawing. We had to take out big chunks to get it out of the way.
How thick did you leave the inside for the carving of the walls?
What do you think, Ron?
Oh, we left about a couple of inches.
Man, so this thing lost a lot of weight.
Well, the one shot of Ron inside the vessel
Yeah,
sanding.
I like that
was
shot.
Because it was a little thick in some spots. And he had a right angle grinder inside taking the wall thickness down.
Wow. So the idea is you're going to make a bigger bowl so all three of you guys can get in there next time, right?
Well, maybe not all at once, but
Well, so, okay, you got the layout, you did the carving, but then you had to move from the saws to what tools? I mean, to start doing the
well, we
fine
used
work.
chainsaw carvers, all kinds of big carbide burr cutters, anything that we could get that would do the scale size. We just had to scale all our carving tools up.
Use the auto chippers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
several different ones of those.
And then sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding after that.
And pretty much did most of it by hand because power sanders will do so much, and then you got to go in there and finesse it.
Wow.
We worked every day from, 6 hours a day maybe, three of us, sanding for what, 2 months?
Yeah, pretty close to it.
I mean, a lot of sanding. I learned a lot about sanding.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, this is the king of sanding
So
right
we
here.
spent 5 days turning after we got it on there and got all our problems solved. We spent 5 days turning. Then we spent 5 weeks carving.
Whoa.
And then a couple of months sanding. So that's
And
how
so
much.
this thing
And that
is
was
gonna-
3 of us, and we were all doing it at the same time.
And Ron's making this bowl available for only $12.95 to the, no,
Plus tax.
plus tax. Well, okay, we've talked enough about it. I can't wait now to see the actual big bowl finished.